spent. It's our job to work tirelessly in partnership with citizen watchdogs to deliver the facts to the American people and bring genuine reform to the federal bureaucracy. 3.5 years ago, closer to 4, in a partisan vote, the House of Representatives passed the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, commonly referred to as Obamacare. The act gave this administration more than 3 years to implement. It gave them virtually unlimited money. It ensured them that for all practical purposes, they need not come back to Congress ever again because they created an entitlement, one that raised its own money, spent its own money, created its own rules. The 2,400 pages that were passed into law and then read afterwards now represent tens of thousands of pages of regulations that were created by this administration based on how this administration wanted a law interpreted. Meaning that legislation created 3.5 years ago was still being written in late September. The cornerstone of the President's signature achievement included a website, healthcare.gov. This site and parallel sites created by some states were supposed to make it easy to have an online marketplace. It was, in fact, an attempt to duplicate what hundreds, perhaps thousands, of insurance companies, large and small, around America do well every day. On October 1st, President Obama said using it would be as easy as buying an airline ticket on kayak.com or buying a television on Amazon. This is an insult to Amazon and Kayak. On the day of the launch, President Obama should have known the harsh lesson we have all learned since that time. And that was, they weren't ready. They weren't close to ready. This wasn't a small mistake. This wasn't a scaling mistake. This was a monumental mistake to go live and effectively explode on the launch pad. For American people, Obamacare is no longer an abstraction, and it is a lot more than a website. For millions of Americans, it's about losing insurance the president promised you can keep, period. For many Americans, it's about premiums going up when you were promised they would go down by $2,500. Big businesses lobbied and received an Obamacare waiver this year. However, the individual, the taxpayer, the citizen, the only real recipient of health care, did not. Individuals still have to pay a penalty if they don't have insurance that meets a federal standard, a standard of what your government, your nanny state, believes, in fact, you must have. The penalty is still in effect, and even if new exchanges don't function. The penalty is, in effect, even if you planned on keeping the health care you wanted, period, and discovered it is now gone, or have yet to discover, because ultimately, if you're on an employer plan, you may not yet have found out that your employer either cannot afford or cannot receive the health care you've grown accustomed to. The specific reason we're here today is a narrow part of this committee's oversight and legislative authority. It's, in fact, to examine the failures of what should have been an IT success story. Nearly $600 million, 3.5 years, is larger than Kayak ever dreamed of having to set up their websites. It's larger than eBay spent in the first many years of a much more complex site that auctions in real time millions and millions of products a year. We're here to examine a failure of technology, not because the technology was so new and innovative, not because this was a moonshot, not because we needed Lockheed Martin and Rockwell to come in and invent some new way to propel a ship to the moon, but because we have discovered, and will undoubtedly continue to discover, that efforts were taken to cut corners to meet political deadlines at the end. That for political reasons, rules were not created in a timely fashion. That in fact, the rules that should have been created at the time of the passage of the law or shortly thereafter, in many cases, were still being given to programmers in September of this year. Now, I recognize that there are divisions on this committee, as there were when Obamacare became law. Many members, including myself, believe that there was and is a health care crisis in America. It's a crisis of affordability. And insurance is simply a way to score what that affordability is, not to drive down the cost. Many members, including myself, opposed this new law because we thought it wouldn't work and it had no systems to actually reduce the cost of health care from the provider. My friends on the other side may correctly note, as I will here, that many Americans are benefiting from Obamacare. At the cost of trillions of dollars over a 10-year period, I certainly hope so. But divisions over whether or not taxpayer money taken and pushed back out to needy who are trying to afford health care is not the subject today. Unfortunately, during the first 2 years of the Obamacare law under Speaker Pelosi, there was no effective oversight. Oversight was shut down during the first 2 years of the Obama administration, and the minority pointing out anything was ignored.
This is the opening statement from Chairman Issa talking about an insult to Amazon.com and Kayak.com and a lot more details about what it cost eBay to set up this online auction site where healthcare.gov failed miserably. In a moment, you're about to hear from Todd Park, the Chief Technology Officer for the White House, and Henry Chow, who was the project manager of healthcare.gov. We have to take commercials today. We're going to take a chance to do this now. You will not miss anything on the other side of this commercial break. More from the Hill.